Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were racing classic C-Class cars. Our first race would go to the Sebring Club Circuit. Turn 1 is a rather notorious corner for accidents. Amazingly, a few cars went a bit wide. I think a Mini got turned around, but that is a remarkably clean start for this sort of track. They're 3 wide down the back straight. The Auto Union is having none of that. There's a very big slide from a Dodge Dart, I think it was, as it was all 2 or 3 wide down the back straight. It was absolutely crazy on this opening lap, with cars absolutely everywhere. Unfortunately, what that did mean is when lag got angry at us, everybody fell off the track. There was about 6 of us, I think, that made it through that lot without being fired off the circuit. I was very, very lucky, and despite being behind most of the cars, somehow survived, along with the Ferrari there. Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate. However, I had forgotten to put full damage on, so the cars that had all lagged and jumped around were actually still okay, which is good considering Sebring. There is no pit lanes around here. This Mini was trying to recover alongside the Mercedes Gullwing. Goes for a very audacious overtake, and certainly will get overtaken in the evening for that one. Going up the middle of a Ford Deluxe Coupe and a Gullwing. I've not quite seen a car go through the middle there. I've seen them go 3 wide into turn 1 before, but I've never not seen somebody go through the middle. So yeah, well done to the Mini for actually making that manoeuvre stick. I was locked in a battle with the Auto Union. The Auto Union fantastically fast in a straight line, but terrible on the brakes and terrible through the corners. And as he had a dive at the Pontiac up ahead, they had a little bit of a bump, and I got the pair of them. It's really useful when I don't know, it may have been slightly lag assisted bump on that one, but yeah. They ended up out nice and wide, and I could get the position. There was plenty of fighting further back, though, with this whole large group of cars that all got lag crashed on the opening lap. They were all still fighting for position. This particular Firebird was having a tough time getting past a Mini. The Dodge Dart was in there. There was plenty of cars in this mid-grid. There's a really big old train going on of vehicles that were recovering. The Pontiac just a little bit too far back to have a look. Here the Minis are right on the back of the Dart as the cars in the background are going too wide. I think it was a Skyline trying to go around the outside of some muscle car. The Mini goes to have a look at the Dart, puts a wheel on the dirt, and then can't stop it, then gets dragged all the way off, and now we've got some Mini rallycross. You've got to be careful with sticking a wheel on the grass coming into a braking zone. Very easy for it to just sort of drag the car off the track. My battle with the Auto Union was carrying on. It was a strange battle, though, that we were having, because the Audi was so very, very fast in a straight line. It could come from absolutely miles back down the straights, and I'd still have to be defending into turn 1, so I hit my Firebird on the inside. Keep the classic race car behind me, but he's still pretty close, and we are now coming to, admittedly, it's not a particularly long straight, but it's still a straight, as we fire the cars down here. I go to the outside for this corner because I want to be on the inside for the next turn. It's no use. The Auto Union is too quick, but it doesn't have the brakes. You can't get it stopped, so I can simply fire my car back up the inside, and now we're coming to the twistier and turnier section of the track, and the Auto Union can't do anything through here. It's not got the grip, it's not got the brakes. I mean, you see it's sliding and wiggling around through the corners. It can't carry the same corner speed as my Pontiac, which means that there was lots of changes of position for what was 3rd place. Further back, there was still a huge tussle going on between all of these vehicles. Mini is fighting with the Dart, the Gullwing's there. There's another muscle car in the background. The Dart tries to go all the way around the outside of the Mini. That's a brave manoeuvre to try and pull. The Dart then gives the Mercedes a little bit of the hurry up. The Mini does go around the outside of the Gullwing. You can go around the outside. We've seen a few cars do it. It's still not the easiest of overtaking spots. That one out there. Now it's sort of the drag race down this front straight. Who has the quickest car in a straight line? Of course, while they've all been fighting, there's a Firebird that's behind them. It's catching them behind them. There's some more cars as well. The Dart has all of the speed as we come down the start-finish straight, but the Mercedes can cover the inside. They're all catching the Mini very, very quickly. The Gullwing panics to try and avoid the Mini. The Firebird's fallen off. The Skyline's caught up to them. The Dart's now fighting with the Mini again. It was just utter chaos. further back through the field. It was slightly less chaos, but still plenty of overtaking going on for the third place, and we averaged exactly the same routine constantly. Is the Auto Union would get me on the straights, and then I would have to get Brave. This time though, he was far enough ahead, he could cover the inside on the way into this corner. This had me worried, because I know I have to get ahead of him through these turns, otherwise he will just vanish when we come to a straight, which meant I had to get Brave. I saw a gap, and I threw my Pontiac up the inside, getting it stopped. I get a big slide mid-corner. The Auto Union's got such good acceleration. He does sort of keep side by side, but, well, we saw the Mini go around the outside, but the Mini has some grip, and the Auto Union doesn't have enough grip to try that one again. Just the sudden acceleration it gets out of the corner. It's right alongside, but he can't do anything through this final turn. But of course, now I am a little bit concerned because, well, okay, I've got back ahead of him by the time we get to the straight, but I don't have as big a lead as I had been enjoying up until now. So sure enough, as we come barreling down towards turn 1, the Auto Union can come soaring past. I am brave enough on the brakes. I can get my car stopped well enough to keep it up the inside, run a little bit wide on the exit, and this battle continued for a good number of laps at the front, and things were pretty close between first and second. They perhaps hadn't been swapping places quite as much as we had further back, but these two had been close on track pretty much from the off. They started, I think, first and I'm not sure if it was second, fairly high up on the grid. They scampered away, avoided all of the chaos at the start, had a huge lead over the rest of us, and as we came on to this is the penultimate lap at the moment, the second place Firebird was getting ever closer. The Pontiac Firebirds were actually quite a popular choice for this one. The one here is a slightly different year to my one. I think there were 4 or 5 Firebirds in this race. Yeah, certainly a popular choice. The Camaro get things a little bit wrong across the curbs. He's just a little bit sideways, slows himself down a bit, and then he has to go defensive, and the second you have to start going defensive, you're going to be going slower, and now the Pontiac is all over the back of him trying to find a way round. He's having a look a very long way around the outside. They do bump just a tiny bit on the exit of the corner. Pontiac gets himself alongside as they come down the start-finish straight. That will put the Pontiac on the inside for the first corner. It's not impossible to go around the outside here. It is tough, but it isn't impossible. The Camaro squeezes him to the inside as much as he can, but he can't quite keep the Pontiac behind. Camaro doesn't quite have enough drive off the turn to make it stick. He is close behind though as they come down the back straight, and the Pontiac is going to have to go defensive into this corner. This time the Chevy's having a look again around the outside. He just can't quite get his car far enough. I'm not sure if there's a little bump between them through there. In the end, the Chevy gets a big slide on through a corner where you don't really want to have a slide, and just loses that little bit of momentum, so he can't do anything as they come around the final corner. It means the Pontiac is going to take victory ahead of the Camaro. It was a thoroughly enjoyable race. This it was a shame about such a big lag spike on the very first lap, because it had been an incredibly clean start up until then, and everybody was all incredibly close. In the battle for third place, well, it looked like the Auto Union had got me beaten. He'd managed to fend me off for a lap through the corners, and now came the long straight that he could pull away from. But you see how much better the Pontiac is. My Firebird is under brakes. How much I closed up there under brakes. And, well, it's only a matter of time before the Auto Union would get things just a tiny bit wrong. And in the end, it was on the final lap, he just couldn't pull it up for the corner. Just couldn't get the damn thing stopped, and ends up out wide on the grass, which promotes me to third. And, yeah, drops the Auto Union down. Interestingly, the fastest laps for the top 5 were all within, I think, half a second of each other. Very close. We were very spread out because of all the battling and stuff we'd been going on. But actual fastest laps were very, very close. The closest finished of all, though, would go for 10th place. This group of cars had remained pretty close and had been plenty of action back here as we round the final corner. It was another Firebird that was trying to make a move this time on the Mercedes Gullwing. The Firebird gets a better run out of the final turn, has that little bit more straight line speed as they drag race down the start finish straight, just beats the Mercedes for 10th place as they come across the line. Yeah, it is a shame about that big lag spike. Would have been interesting to see what would have happened had that not been there. Our next race would go to the Catalunya National Circuit, a track I've used for quite a lot of these. A good fun racing circuit. Often we get plenty of close racing. As we come down towards turn 1, it's another fairly dangerous turn 1 here. Aside from the Ferrari, slightly outbraked himself and got scared and ran off, tried to avoid the cars, which is it's a good thing he did. He didn't collect anybody, and a Lotus ended up on the sand. Everybody, again, had a pretty calm start. Certainly for a race at Catalunya, that is a pretty calm start. As we come at the top of the hill, there's plenty of fighting going on. I'm pretty sure there are a couple of muscle cars side by side. The Mini makes up 2 positions, probably gets some understeer mid-corner and causes, I think it was a Nova or something, to get a little scared. The Corvette making up the positions back that he'd lost. Unfortunately, it was again another silly lag spike on lap 1 that would cause a nuisance when everybody was all bunched up. This time would break a couple of cars. A lot of vehicles, though, made it through without that much damage from that particular incident. The Corvette fighting his way back past a Jaguar. Again, I had been in a lucky place. I think there's a Mustang as well that had survived quite nicely from further back on the grid. Just managed to keep out of trouble. And as we came on to the start-finish straight to start our second lap, despite coming from the back, I was right up with what was, I think, 3rd and 4th at the time, and then we have the straight-line speed of my Firebird. It is a pretty good... I like this car in C-Class. Very, very good car to race with. I get to the inside of a Camaro, have a big dive, and manage to get it stopped into turn 1. He's trying to go around the outside, just doesn't quite have the grip to make that one stick. On the outside of the Pontiac through the next corner, I can simply cut back to the inside. I've got so much more grip through these turns, and then it's just another drag race up the hill where I have the straight line speed as well, and I can get the position. I don't really want to be going around the outside at the top of the hill. That's not a particularly fun place to be making a manoeuvre out there. So yeah, glad I had the straight line speed to out accelerate it. And this slightly more modern Pontiac was to come under fire from, well, everyone else. The Camaro had a go into this final chicane. Very, very tough place to get an overtake done because it's so sort of tight and slow through that corner. It's very, very difficult to get a pass done. In the end, he managed to sort of compromise the Firebird enough that he can dive up the inside on the final corner, and now the car we're following is under threat from the Stingray as we come down to start finish straight. The Corvette can just simply out-accelerate him down here and then up towards turn 1. It looks like the Stingray had a big dive under brakes. He ran a little bit wide. The Pontiac's not close enough, though, to really profit from it, and I think it gets a big slide on the exit of that corner. Further back, and there was, again, another group of cars. Much like Sebring, there was plenty of action going on in this race. This time we have a Mustang leading a 250 GTO and a Lotus Elan. The Mustang had very little of the straight line speed. I'm not sure if the car was damaged in an incident. I don't think it was. It could just be the way the car was built. The Mustang does seem to have incredible grip through some of these turns, so while the Ferrari had a dive at the inside with just so much more straight line speed, he couldn't get it stopped, and the Mustang can do a fairly simple cutback. Yeah, it's possible if you'd gone for race tyres on the Mustang, you probably wouldn't have had much room for engine upgrades, and yeah, it means your car is very slow in a straight line compared to some of the stuff people are running. The Ferrari, in the end, trying to give the Elan space, just gets it a little bit wrong on the outside, ends up out on the sand, and would lose the position. Certainly through the final sector, the Mustang was going very, very quickly, and as the Pontiac pushes a little bit too hard, ends up out on the grass. The Mustang moves up a place. The Firebird sees an opportunistic spot, has a go at the inside again. We're seeing people attempting overtakes into that final section. He couldn't quite do it, but we've seen how much the Ford is struggling in a straight line. So as we come on to the start-finish straight, yes, the Mustang does have a little bit of a lead, but it wouldn't last for long. The Elan has profited as well, getting up the inside of the Firebird as we all stream down towards turn 1. I love how the front lights come on the Elan for no reason when it goes under braking. The Pontiac goes up the inside of the Mustang. Mustang loses 2 places, a little bit of bumping. The Ferrari is catching up again. As soon as you start fighting like this, the cars behind are going to catch up pretty quickly. The Mustang is going for the Brave, and it's certainly difficult overtake around the outside, at the top of the hill, and the Ford has got enough grip to make that one work. Yeah, definitely thinking we've got race tyres on this car. Fortunately, you just see in the background there, the white Camaro, I think, fell off the road at some point and would drop back. The Firebird had to go into the next hairpin, trying frantically to hold on to the position. Couldn't quite get it stopped, ran wide, and then, of course, when you do that, he's lost a place to the Ferrari as well now. At the front, and things were much calmer. This Mustang would pretty much lead from the off and vanish up the road. Second place wasn't too far behind it. You may just about see it in the background. It was a black Nova, while I would end up in third. Yet again, it was an all-muscle car podium. Yeah, the Mustang was setting at pretty damn fast lap times. There wasn't a huge difference between us, but because of the start, if you like, we were all so spread out that, yes, us top three didn't have a particularly close race. Our third and final race would go to the Prague short circuit. I like this track. I think it's a great track, much like or fairly similar to the New York circuit of old from Forza 3. I think it was a Nova, had a bit of an incident on the bridge, and then all of the chaos would happen in Turn 1. We'd done so well to avoid all of the chaos in Turn 1 of the two more dangerous circuits, but no, it was Prague that we had the issues with, as I was trying to have a look up the inside of a Skyline as he runs wide, gets caught out. It's very easy to get your car sort of caught out on the curbs there, and it kind of drags you wide, which I'm guessing is what happened to the Nissan. Leading the way at the front was a BMW being chased by, yet again, some more muscle cars, lots of muscle cars going through here. Trying to go too wide through there is a scary prospect. The scarier prospect, though, is that chicane. The bumps there throw the cars around massively, put the BMW in the wall and cause chaos, basically. BMW has nowhere to go. I think there's one or two cars then further back also had the same issue, and then everybody just gets caught up. Everybody just gets stuck. That broke. There wasn't a lag crash this time. That was just driver errors, and everybody got broken in that particular moment. A few cars did survive through that. These three were leading the way. It was again three muscle cars fighting over first spot. The Mustang almost thought about having an overtake into that chicane. Don't think I've ever seen a successful overtake through. Nobody really wants to go too wide through that chicane. Your better spot is into the final corner, and sure enough, the Mustang gets up the inside and gets the position, and with better drive onto this straight, he can pull away and get to relative safety. You know, the Chevy is too far back to try to think there's a Lotus recovering from the pit. Leading the race, we had another Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, but the curbs weren't finished claiming victims. Not yet. This time, the leader gets a bump through the curbs. It's just carrying a bit too much speed. You hit the curb, you get some airtime, and then second place just about avoids him. You clobber the curb, you get too much airtime, and then you can't steer it for the second part of the curb, and you hit the inside wall, or sometimes just straight into the outside wall. They're very dangerous. There was a very high attrition rate in this race. Now, of the cars that were involved in the crash, only a few of us pitted. This was the battle for the lead, if you like, of the cars that had to pit. I wasn't involved with the clattering of the wall. The Javelin sort of slammed on his brakes trying to swerve and was slowed down by the BMW. I just went straight into the back of the Javelin. I couldn't stop in time. And despite it not being a particularly big impact, my car and his car were utterly wrecked. So we chose to go for the pits, whereas a lot of vehicles chose to stay out, not wanting to spend the time in the pits. This time it was my turn to make a meal of the chicane. Yeah, I did exactly the same as everybody else had been doing. Hit the curb too hard on the inside, jumped and clattered the wall on the other side. But amazingly, that did no damage to my car. That was fine. That my car was okay with that one. But the small bump in the back of the Javelin, and yeah, I don't know. Someone forgot how long their Impala was on the first corner. Well saved. I will give you that. You did get it going rather quickly. I only lost one place in that. But yeah, this track is very dangerous. Often people, I guess perhaps people aren't quite so used to driving this circuit. And of course, being a street circuit, a tiny mistake, and there is a wall there. So, yeah. There were quite a lot of drive errors, if you like. We were, with now fixed cars, catching the cars that hadn't pitted really rather quickly, and you can see how hard I was pushing, and the Javelin behind me were pushing, as this time we were getting the lines right, and getting quite a lot of airtime for that particular corner. I was up behind a Nissan, trying to find a way past, and again it was going to be the final corner that is perhaps one of your more sensible overtaking opportunities, but at this stage it was becoming rather easier to overtake vehicles, as the cars that had remained out were the vehicles that had suffered damage and just chosen not to pit. I worked my way up into what was 4th place and was joining in the battle for 2nd as I would get up the inside of the Impala, and with me having a fixed car, yes, I'd lost a lot of time in the pits, but I was just so much faster on the track that I was catching up to these vehicles. I go around the outside, or the inside, sorry, of the Charger. I had no idea where he was. There was a little bit of a bump on the exit of the turn, and get the pair of them, proving that it is perhaps a better idea to go into the pits and get your car fixed. Certainly, if you're broken on lap 1, to get your vehicle fixed rather than struggling on with a broken car, as amazingly I got myself to 2nd. However, at the front, and absolutely miles ahead of everybody, the only car, I think, not to end up in the wall at some point, or not to end up in anybody else's crash at this circuit, was the Mustang that would go on to take victory by just a huge margin. Yeah, certainly being the only car to survive undamaged in a race is quite an advantage, we'll be honest. I didn't quite expect Prague, certainly not with C-Class cars, to be as dangerous as it had been, but yeah, there you go. And the curbs still weren't finished yet. They still hadn't finished claiming victims. The Javelin that had stayed out of the wall the entire race as well was to have a moment on the final lap. Turned in a tiny bit too soon, clonked the wall on the inside this time, bouncing across the track, and that would kill the Javelin and kill the Firebird that would try and get past him. Yeah, it was an incredibly high attrition rate at this circuit. I like the challenge of Prague. I do like the track. I didn't quite expect as many accidents. We've raced it before. We've not had quite as many accidents as that. But there you go. However, that is it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one shall be held on the 28th of May. We are going to be on Forza 5 running, seeing as we've done classic cars this week, and often Versus the Community ends up as everybody using classic cars, we're going to run modern B-class vehicles. To count for this, the car has to be made in 2010 or newer, so we should get some hopefully different vehicles, and I will have to not use a muscle car, which will be unusual. I think the last 4 or 5 of these I've been using muscle cars. They've been doing me quite well, and so yeah, we're going to have a go with some modern vehicles. If you would like to sign up and take part, then you can go to our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and you will be able to sign up in there. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.